Hey everybody, it's Grandmaster Ben Finegold with a new series that I dreamed up, although I was awake, so it was a daydream. It's called 5 Minutes with Ben. And Karen said I couldn't last 5 minutes, so we're going to see right here. Anyway, we're going to do this either daily or weekly, depending on how much you guys like it, or even more often. So the videos are going to be around 5 minutes. But, you know, they could be 4, they could be 6. Who knows? Anyway, you shouldn't fall asleep watching the video because it's pretty short. Okay, so I want to look at an excerpt from one of my favorite games. This is Étienne Bacrot, the French Grandmaster, versus Viswanathan in 2001 at the Corsica Masters Rapid Tournament. This tournament's rapid. 2001, usually that meant it was 25 minutes each. That's what it usually meant. So, okay, so this position, white just snatched a pawn on c6. He played a rook takes c6, and he's forking the two pieces. Okay, so Anand played knight takes e3, and white has a choice here. Does white take the bishop or take the knight? And it looks better to take the bishop because you don't ruin your pawn structure. But unfortunately for Bacrot, taking the bishop is a mistake. He should have taken the knight. And then I probably prefer black because white's pawn structure is a little iffy. But at least white's a pawn up, although pretty iffy pawn structure. Okay, so he played rook takes a6 because he didn't see the brilliancy that we're going to see. Although he did see it, and he saw it before we saw it because he saw it in 2001. Man, it took us 22 years to see this brilliancy. Terrible. Okay, now, of course, Anand could take the bishop. Bacrot would take the knight. And white's up a pawn. White has a pass c pawn for basically nothing. And probably that's what Bacrot was expecting, like what's black going to do? Okay, so Anand played rook b8 attacking the queen. And this is a funny position because the white queen doesn't have a lot of squares. We can't block with the rook because pawn takes. And we can't move our queen to any of these squares that I'm highlighting that it could legally move to, but it doesn't want to move there, because you just capture it. Okay, so white has two moves, queen a3 and queen a4. That's it. Okay, and he played the move, queen a4. Okay, reasonable. And Anand played rook to b2. And Anand said, if you play pawn takes knight, I'm going to play queen e2, and you're going to resign. Because now black is checkmating white. White's pieces all on the a file, frankly, ridiculous. So that's terrible. So instead of taking the knight, and if it was black's turn in this position, black would play the move queen e2 and say, how are you going to defend your f pawn? And the answer is you can't. You can't play rook f1 because the knight's here. So black to move plays queen e2 and wins. And if it's white's move and he takes, queen e2 wins. I keep saying queen e2 wins. Therefore, Bacrot played rook e1. And he said, now queen e2 doesn't win. And Viswanathan said, I beg to differ. And he played the brilliant move, making this one of my favorite games, queen e2, ignoring the rook on e1. Amazing. And if you take the queen, then rook here check leads to checkmate. You can block with the queen, or you could mouse slip. You could block with overwrite. You could block with the rook. You can block with the bishop, but it's going to be checkmate. So after queen e2, you can't take the queen. Now black has more threats. Black's threatening queen f2 with checkmate, and queen takes e1 with checkmate, and you can't really stop either one. So in this position, Bacrot resigned, Anand won. That was a pretty quick win from a position where white's position wasn't that bad, but he underestimated black's attack. And the key to the position after rook takes rook b1 is this knight on e3. It was never captured. And it comes to win the game because it controls f1 and g2. So rook takes f1 is going to be mate. Well, that was 5 minutes with Ben. I hope you enjoyed it, especially more than Karen does. And we'll see you guys next time with more 5 minutes with Ben. Bye, everyone.